Well, here we are. Lightning in a Bottle, the first Pentagram album in a decade. So, their last album, Curious Volume, I actually kind of enjoyed with its more stoner rock vibes, and it's kind of a shame how overlooked that album gets. But now that it's been 10 years since that album's release, which is crazy to think about, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect for this one. I mean, it obviously wouldn't sound the exact same as its predecessor, seeing as how long it's been, but I was, of course, expecting it to sound like Pentagram. And that it did. Lightning in a Bottle is a combo of their doomier stuff like Last Rites and Relentless with the rock songwriting of Curious Volume. Essentially, the songs follow similar structures to that album, but the riffs are more thick and less fuzzy and are more drawn out on a few tracks. The production, much like the previous album, is still quite punchy and direct, which maximizes heaviness and helps the record a lot. Bobby's vocals are kind of highlight here, as not only are they not like buried or whatever, or muffled in the mix, but he actually gives off one of his best performances in a long time on here. He sounded pretty good on Curious Volume, and it seems like time has only been good to his voice. He sounds kind of soulful and a little bluesy, quite enthusiastic overall. And most importantly, his performances are consistently great across the whole album, which was an issue in the past with albums like Review Your Choices, Sub Basement, Show 'Em How. Yeah, here, I mean, he sounds great. Yeah, of course, he does sound aged, but not bad, actually. And speaking of performances, we've got a completely new lineup here. Guitarist Tony Reed, bassist Scooter Haslip, and drummer Henry Vasquez, who all do fantastic jobs. The drums are, again, very punchy and in your face and create some incredible grooves with Haslip's bass. Reed's guitar playing is quite solid as well, and well, he doesn't really bring too much of his own flavor, too much. He does do a great job at bringing the Pentagram style at the very least. And we have quite a lot of solid riffs and solos here. I mean, the groovy opening riff of Thundercrest, or the stoner-inspired riff in I Spoke to Death, or the relentless throwback riff in the title track are all solid examples. So as for the actual songs themselves, there's quite a bit to unpack. So we have a mixture of like up-tempo, heavy rockers like Live Again, In the Panic Room, Solve the Puzzle, more mid-tempo stuff like Spread Your Wings, I Spoke to Death, Dull Pain, in your face like riff fests like the aforementioned Thundercrest, I'll Certainly See You in Hell, the title track, which I'll Certainly See You in Hell in particular is kind of like a sort of definitely very Pentagram song. It's like only 2 minutes, but it's kind of cool how like Bobby Leeling is like, it's not just like I'll see you in hell, I'll certainly see you in particular in hell. And we've got, actually a few slow and doomy tracks here as well, like Lady Heroin and mainly Walk the Sociopath, which I'll get to. So actually quite a bit of variety here, but what's different this time around is that the album is still tonally consistent and doesn't sound like a comp album like some past Pentagram albums did. Live Again is quite a strong opener, as I mentioned before. It's an upbeat rocker that makes zero compromises and wastes no time starting the album. Not to mention a really strong solo from Tony Reed to boot. Main single Thundercrest does this quite similarly with an almost, I don't want to say nu metal style riff, or like syncopated riff within the verses, which is not something I ever thought I would compare Pentagram to, but here we are. When I first heard the single, I don't know why, my thoughts just went to that right away in the verse. Yeah, Solve the Puzzle also contains an insanely hooky riff with a pretty unusually melodic chorus for Pentagram. I was a little bit surprised with this one. But the highlight here is definitely the closer, Walk the Sociopath. This is seriously doomy stuff with drums going no faster than probably like 70 BPM, bass and guitar riffs heavy enough to rattle the earth's core. This would be the best song on the album if it wasn't for the quite reflective and mellowish Lady Heroin. It starts off pretty heavy with laments about the wretched drug in question and goes full Dead Meadows psychedelic mode about a minute and a half in. It's honestly the most introspective that Pentagram have ever been, and it's nice to see them try something kind of new. And it only makes sense with how much Bobby Liebling has been through, because as anyone who's seen the Last Days Here documentary knows, he's had it pretty rough. He's had a rough life, and he's had his struggles with the needles. So, yeah, it's definitely quite a reflection of his past days been through. But I digress. As mentioned before, the album is varied but tonally consistent, and is really, really is quite a fun and great listen. This is by far the best album released this month that I've heard. I've only heard like a few. I checked out the new Halo Effect album and the new Hard Cure for the Sky album, both of which I did reviews up on this channel. So if you're interested in that, go check out those. But at the very least, this is one of Pentagram's greatest. It's nothing about it feels forced or like filler at all. The band sounds like they're just genuinely having a great time. It's a buffet of stompy, heavy rockers and slow, introspective jams, and with it now having been 40 years since Relentless was put out, it's quite shocking that these guys are still turning out material this good. I'm giving this a 95 out of 100 overall. It's not an insane masterpiece, but I really don't see any flaws with this one either. Hopefully they won't take as long to release their next album if they do, but this doesn't really seem like the type of record to be a swan song. Anyway, there you go. Lightning in a Bottle by Pentagram, one of their best, the best album this month so far, or by far that I've heard. I was gonna check out that new All That Remains album, but I never actually got to that, so maybe I'll have to do that during the week. And I'm still planning to do a full discography review of Pentagram, so hope to see that coming too. I've got some big stuff for February planned. January is kind of an M month overall, but yeah. So this was great. Give this a listen, especially because of how overlooked Pentagram is, and it could be argued that they're the first American heavy metal band overall. Yes, check this out. Seriously, this is great. And yeah, plenty of other great albums to come so far that have been announced, and I'm excited. So, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.